I've highlighted some articles and videos that use keywords from our past content. These are short, simple, and easy to understand even without much context. I hope this helps expand your English expression.
Review and different perspective. Reading practice. For speaking. Read silently or aloud, as if you were telling it to someone else. Articles and essays are read aloud and paused after each chunk or sentence, giving you time to read and understand the meaning before moving on. The video does not stop, so pause it where you want to practice phrases or any parts that interest you.
Both groups decided to go to the bar and asked each individual, but missed me out. I'm a bit quieter than most people, but I do chat and show an interest.
Than most people. Some examples.
Fashion changes faster than most people can keep up with. It's actually a lot harder to make friends at uni. Than most people tell you it is. He just doesn't seem to realize. That he had a better life than most people I know.
It's important to understand the root of children's behavior, because there's always a reason behind it.
There is so much more to behavior than most people think. Children don't try to upset us. There is usually something behind it. They are communicating their need through behavior. If we look behind the behavior, we can see a child who is doing the best they can. I go into detail on how to look behind the behavior and what to do about it. In my new book, Guidance from the Therapist Parent, which is about to be released. More information on my website.
This video is about a photographer who talks about capturing important moments and people from athletes to September 11th and reflects on the role of photography in society.
Good evening. Working for the National Geographic has been the best experience that I can imagine. It's hard to translate that into emotion, to something other people can understand. When I was growing up, I was not the guy that people would have expected to have the career of his dreams. First, I was born in Hays, Kansas, which is not the intersection of art, culture, and science. And on top of that, school was really difficult. Not just hard, but I was dyslexic, and I had a hard time reading, writing, anything that had to do with school, except for art, was difficult for me. And I have to think back to a family trip in 1975 in Grand Lake, Colorado. I took my parents' camera, I ran down to the lake, and I shot a picture of a sailboat. But for me, it's ironic that I'm essentially doing something to fill my time, but I was hooked. So I was lucky. I got to work at Kansas State at this great newspaper, the Collegian, and then I got an internship at the Philadelphia Inquirer. So I did a story about Greg Tutt, a boxer who trained in Joe Frazier's gym and worked really hard. I admired his dedication and his hard work. I remember the article really well. It ran in the Sunday magazine, and it was written by a well-known writer, Steve Lopez, and the opening line of the story was, Greg Tutt is walking through a neighborhood that's going nowhere and taking everybody with it. And to me, you know, I had to, in a sense, compete on the same page as people who could write like that. So it was very important to me to work as hard as I could to deserve a place at that table. And working in Philadelphia led me to another amazing opportunity. I had always wanted to work for Sports Illustrated. I had done a lot of my college work in sports. A guy named Buzz Bissinger, who was a writer at the Philadelphia Inquirer, won a Pulitzer, and I had heard that he was leaving the newspaper to go do a book about high school football in Texas. And I went up and showed him the work, and I said, you know, you should hire me to go do that work for you. And it worked out. I moved to Odessa, Texas for a while and shot pictures for a book, Friday Night Lights, which is, you know, turned into the TV show and the movie and all these things. We were looking at race, at the boom-bust cycle of oil, parents living through their kids. This is the quarterback of the team, Mike Winchell, who was always kind of a loner because of all the pressure on him. And this is still one of my favorite pictures, not just from that book, but, you know, I really enjoyed this picture. They had 5:30 a.m. call for football, 5 days a week, double practices. They worked harder than most people do. And then they lost. They lost to Midland Lee, their arch rivals, which for me, a lot of my sports photography, I enjoy the winning and the losing photos. I like action pictures, but I was kind of always more drawn to the emotion in the pictures. But also there was a serious side to some of the work I was doing. I live in Williamsburg, Brooklyn, and I was getting ready to leave the country on the 12th for a trip to Thailand for a story for the magazine. And I got a call from my fiance, and she said a plane hit the World Trade Centers. And I looked out the building, and I actually had a view of that. So I ran to the roof of my building. I got to the roof at, I think, 8:58 or so, and was just composing the picture with the smoke going downtown. These are pictures I shot that ran in Time magazine. I'm very conflicted about these images, but it is a very big part of my career. I'm glad that I did my job correctly. There's a horrible situation, and it's a horrible thing to watch. But I do realize they're important pictures, and I'm happy that I've done work that is now in history books. And I had some pictures in a book about war photography and an exhibit at the Corcoran. There was a film, and there was a military historian talking about my pictures, and he said, and I hadn't thought about it this way at all, he said that it's very rare that you have a picture of a war starting.
This morning the groups had made plans, and I tagged along with one. I ended up walking behind alone, as they were walking next to each other, and there was no room unless I stepped in the road.
Ended up. From the archives. This is where I always end up after Gay Pride. I always end up watching these videos late at night. I always end up bringing home more things. Why do I always end up in the same dead-end job? Why do I always end up eating by myself? How the fuck did I end up here?
Go on.
All right, so we're in a park. This is a lovely
me.
park. Tell me something a little bit about this park.
This is where I always end up after Gay Pride. This is where I always end up after Gay Pride.
Where did you grow up, Phoebe?
I grew up in Ealing.
How would you describe your upbringing?
Continued support. So I don't know about you, but one of my guilty pleasures is watching street food videos. I just love them. Something about witnessing the procedure of making food right in front of me, even though I'm not there, it's virtual, but just watching the process of someone make food, I just find it so calming, satisfying, and then ultimately it makes me hungry, but I always end up watching these videos late at night. I don't know, something about it is just love it. But there are so many great
shampoo or anything. So here I have 3 pairs of shoes, all of my toiletries, all of my cables. I also always like to bring like a foldable tote bag because I always end up bringing home more things. Than I came with. So you just zip everything in here.
Why do I always end up in this same dead-end job? Why do I always end up eating by myself? How the fuck did I end up here?
If I was able to be involved and felt welcome, that would be fine. But I just can't seem to do the right thing. And I'm starting to feel self-conscious and a bit upset. I have a few days left. And I'm not sure what to do for the best.
Can't seem. From the archives. But I can't seem to find squeaks. Is there something on your mind? That you can't seem to let go of? I go on repeat when I have a problem. That I can't seem to solve.
Shh, we're playing hide and seek, but I can't seem to find squeaks. Can you? Can you? Found ya!
Is there something on your mind? That you can't seem to let go of? I go on repeat when I have a problem. That I can't seem to solve.
Thanks for watching. I hope this helps your learning English.